Thank you. We now move to topical questions. Question number 1, Fiona MacLeod.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it is taking to mitigate the effects of the so-called bedroom tax.
Minister Margaret Burgess.
The Scottish Government has provided Scottish councils with £20 million this year and up to £20 million next year for discretionary housing payments to mitigate the impacts of the UK Government's bedroom tax. This is the maximum permitted under the legal limit set by the UK Government. We have also provided funding of £7.9 million to help frontline advice services support people dealing with bedroom tax, with £2.5 million ring-fenced for social landlords. We will continue to make the case to the UK Government that concessions should be granted, such as increasing the Scottish share of discretionary housing payments. However, there is only one solution. The Scottish Parliament should have control over welfare benefits, and we could scrap the bedroom tax altogether.
Fiona MacLeod.
Thank you, Minister. As you said in your answer, you are mitigating the bedroom tax up to a maximum of £20 million, as you are legally allowed to. I'm sure you'll be aware of the comments made by the Scotland Office UK Minister David Mundell that the Scottish Government is able to exempt everyone in Scotland affected by the bedroom tax. So the Coalition is no longer just content with inflicting the bedroom tax upon struggling Scottish families, but are now demanding that the Scottish Government clears up their mess. So I agree with the Minister, and I think it would be useful to elaborate on the fact that it is only with independence that we can do away with this dreaded tax.
Minister.
Well, I absolutely agree with the member. I was absolutely shocked to read David Mundell's comments. I mean, David Mundell is a member of the UK party that's in government in Westminster, imposed the bedroom tax on the people of Scotland, supports the bedroom tax, still supports the bedroom tax, but then discovers, as he should have a long time ago, the impact it's having on our poorest people. He then suggests that out of the Scottish budget, which has already been cut by Westminster, that we should make up for the failings of Westminster. Doesn't tell us where the money is coming from, because one thing that's very clear, any money that we use in mitigation has to come out of the devolved settlement, which is for housing, police, health service, and he doesn't say where it's going to come from. So I think it's absolutely a barefaced gall, and the Parliament doesn't have the powers to control welfare spending at the moment, and the only way we can do it is if we have control of it ourselves, as I said earlier, and that's by voting yes in the referendum.
Okay, McIntosh.
Thank you. The Minister will be aware that there is strong support across this Parliament against the bedroom tax. Given that the Government clearly wants to do its part, and that my colleague Jackie Baillie now has the requisite support for her Members' Bill, can the Minister indicate the Government's support for that bill?
Sir.
I have said on more than one occasion that we are mitigating where we can. The legal limit in terms of in discretionary housing payments, we have topped up to the legal limits. We've made it very clear what our views are in terms of evictions and separating out one certain group from eviction, because if we look now, that's only part of it. We've now got the suggestion that those under 25 housing benefit could be removed from then, and that is just something that's not possible to mitigate. The only solution is to vote yes in the referendum and get rid of the bedroom tax entirely.
Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. How much would it cost to mitigate additional welfare cuts if the Westminster Government extend the bedroom tax to include pensioners, as suggested by Julian Brazier MP? And beyond that, how much would it cost if they go ahead with scrapping housing benefit for under 25s? Would it not be better to scrap these inhumane policies and give this Parliament all of the levers of power so that we can scrap these inhumane policies?
Minister.
I absolutely agree with the member that the policies are inhumane, and removing the bedroom tax from 25 and under in Scotland could impact on 20,000 children in Scotland, and we can make child poverty again putting more children into poverty, which is something that I'm sure none of us want in this chamber. And to remove the bedroom tax from the under 25s would cost £133 million a year. The Scottish Government doesn't have the money to mitigate at that level, and it would be unthinkable to look at what it would cost if we extended it out to pensioners. It's simply not possible, and I absolutely agree that we have to take this head on and bring welfare to this Scottish Parliament, where we would stop any further cuts to the benefit system and repeal the bedroom tax altogether.
Jenny Mara.
Presiding Officer, David Mundell is the second member of the UK Government who has indicated it is possible for the Scottish Government to find the means and mechanism to mitigate the bedroom tax. Does he know something the Minister doesn't? And has she instructed her officials to do a full audit to make sure that there might be a mechanism that could mitigate this bedroom tax now, rather than waiting for a vote in September?
Minister.
Yes, I think it's very clear. We know that Jenny Marr's party is working with the Tories, and what they want to do is pass the buck to this Scottish Government out of the Scottish budget. But I don't think David Mundell actually understands that the Scotland Act expressly reserves welfare spending related to an individual's housing costs. It was the Labour government who put the cap on discretionary housing payments, and we've topped it up as far as we can. So, no, I don't think that what the member is saying will carry any, won't go anywhere, because simply we are doing what we can within our powers. Neither the member on that side of the chamber or David Mundell or anywhere else is suggested where in the Scottish budget, even if they came up with a mechanism to do it, where in the Scottish budget the money was coming from, and no one has come up with that.
Alex Johnson.
The Minister has, once again, in response to our backbenchers, made some very specific commitments about what a Scottish Government could do in an independent Scotland. Will the Minister at this stage give us a commitment that these policies will be fully costed prior to the referendum in September?
Minister.
All the policies of this Scottish Government are fully costed, and we've already costed what we're doing in the discretionary housing payment. So I don't think we'll take any lessons from Alex Johnson or the Tories, and budgets are costing.
Question number 2, Jim Hume.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government how it plans to ensure more specialist care for care home residents with dementia.
Cabinet Secretary Alex Neil.
Presiding Officer, care homes increasingly already provide specialist care for people with dementia. Last year, the Scottish Government set up a national task force on the future of residential care in Scotland to examine the purpose and structure of residential care services needed to fit the care needs of future generations, including the increasing proportion of residents with dementia. The task force will produce a report with recommendations shortly, which will go out for consultation. As part of the National Dementia Strategy, we continue to implement the Promoting Excellence Dementia Skills Framework to help services in all care settings meet the standards of care for dementia. This includes the training of over 300 dementia ambassadors from the social services sector, many of whom have key roles in a range of activities to support dementia workforce development and training in care homes. We know that there are people with moderate to advanced stages of dementia in care homes who do not have a diagnosis, and we're doing more to ensure that they are identified and that those diagnosed on or after the 1st of April 2013 receive the benefits of the National Post-Diagnostic Commitment in a way that is meaningful to them in their particular care setting and stage of the illness.
Jim Hume.
I thank the Minister for that response. He'll be aware of the recent figures by Scotland's Care Inspectorate, which revealed that despite 90% of care home residents either having dementia or showing signs of the illness, less than 12% of Scotland's care homes, specifically for older people, are specialists in dementia care. This is despite the fact that the number of people with dementia in Scotland's expected to double in the 20 years between 2011 and 2031. If staff and facilities are better equipped to deal with the challenges of dementia sufferers, it will make their tasks easier. But crucially, the care experience for the patient far smoother and dignified. Does the Minister share my concern over the care imbalance for dementia sufferers, and will he explain further actions he will take to close the care gap?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, can I say to the member, I think he's getting slightly mixed up in his interpretation of the Care Inspectorate's figures. It is true that there are over 900 care homes in Scotland which specialise in services for older people, and 106 of those provide specifically and only specialist dementia services. But many of the other 800 homes also provide services for dementia patients. But I do accept that we do need to estimate and to evaluate the impact of dementia on the care sector and to ensure that services are provided both qualitatively and quantitatively to meet the increasing need. As I said in my opening statement, the task force is designed to do exactly that.
Jim Hume.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. You mentioned the task force and its report that was to come shortly. That report was supposed to be published in the autumn 2013. It wasn't. A strategy was due to be drawn up and consulted upon this winter, and it hasn't been. The Minister talked a good game last year, and now under pressure from press and opposition MSPs, he now announces a delayed strategy. Those suffering dementia can't delay the progression of their condition. Why is there such a lengthy delay in the report?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, can I first of all say I've never felt under any pressure from Jim Hume or indeed any other Liberal Democrat anywhere in the United Kingdom on any subject whatsoever. Can I tell him that the report is far better to take a bit longer to get the report and get it right, rather than to rush it out. It does require a lot of research. It will be published soon. We already have a dementia strategy which includes people in care homes, and as I said, we're already implementing a whole range of initiatives, including the 300 dementia ambassadors, to try to ensure the skills levels that are required in the care sector are actually there.
Rod Campbell.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Cabinet Secretary, what progress has been made in implementing a national commitment on the prescribing of psychoactive medications in care homes for residents with dementia?
Minister.
Presiding Officer, we asked the Royal Pharmaceutical Society and the Royal College of Psychiatry Old Age Faculty to lead an expert group in developing a national commitment on reducing inappropriate prescribing of psychoactive medications, excluding cognitive enhancers, in all care settings, including care homes. Their final recommendation will now be made to the Scottish Government in the first quarter of 2014, and we expect that it will include action on key areas such as initiation and review of medication and in ensuring that all psychoactive medication is administered in accordance with the law.
Nanette Milne.
Thank you. Can I ask the Cabinet Secretary that although one of the key aims of Scotland's National Dementia Strategy 2013-16 is to ensure that people with dementia who want to remain within their own homes do so, rather than staying or living in hospitals or care homes, would you agree that people who have by necessity to enter care homes should receive the same level of care afforded to others? Specifically, can you tell us what progress is being made in providing post-diagnostic support in the form of a named link worker within Scotland's care homes, so that individuals and their families in these situations are equally cared for?
Minister.
Can I first of all say to Nanette Milne that actually there is very clearly a change in the profile of dementia patients and at what stage they now go into a care home and how long they're in a care home. It used to be the average length of stay in a care home could be measured in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Now typically a dementia patient is in a care home for the last 2 or 3 years at most of their life, and therefore the care at home is much longer than what it was previously, and I believe there is scope to go further in trying to ensure that care at home remains the norm for as long as possible for dementia patients. In terms of the specialist services and support she referred to in care homes, we are intending that that should be available eventually in all care homes in the right setting for dementia patients, but obviously it requires a level of investment both by the Scottish Government and by the care home providers.
That ends topical questions. Before we come to the debate on veterans, I would like to say that I am deeply disappointed